Welcome to episode 23 of season 1 of Taking It to the Nub. I am your host, Boston Jimmie, and tonight I have some special guests, Armen and Val from DAV Cigars. I met these two folks a couple of years back at one of the IPCPCRs. We've grown to know each other over the years. They have a great craft that they've been producing, and a great story of how their whole line started, and it's not just starting here in the United States. So I'm going to bring in Val and Armen, and we'll get this show rolling. Gentlemen, thank you.
Sure.
Welcome to Taking It to the Nub.
It's a pleasure to be here.
How's your family's doing in all of this stuff?
It's crazy. Well, luckily everybody's healthy, and but of course we're all getting on each other's nerves a little bit. So other than that, business as usual. Val, have at it.
We'll take it day at a time. It's nothing that we were prepared for, so we're adjusting. In the beginning, it was very hard to adjust, but it becomes part of our life now, and
Absolutely.
It's mind-boggling. If you were gonna talk about it 9 months ago or so, and everybody was gonna tell you you're crazy, not all over the world, what's going on, it's like unbelievable.
If anybody said anything about what 2020 was going to be like, they were completely wrong. I mean, we have like dual hurricanes hitting the Gulf Coast this week.
Seriously.
It doesn't happen. This is 2020, man. So like we just write it off as a bad year. As cigar guys, you're always on the road. You're always doing stuff. You're not home that often. So it's a big adjustment for you too, because you do your normal thing. So I appreciate it.
For me, it's very, I've hardly I'm home, and I have to stay home now. It's like in the beginning, it was very, very hard. My wife home, my son home, nobody's going to work and everything. It was unbelievable, and I miss.
Jimmie, he was looking for excuses to come and hang out at my house.
So what are you all smoking and drinking tonight?
I am having, this is actually a house blend. As you can see, the nice little pigtails. It's a nice Connecticut wrapper. So I'm going to spark this up for the show.
I'm smoking a Habana 6x60.
Nice. So I'm actually smoking one of your new Lanceros. We will get into the discussion of this a little bit later in the show. I'm finishing up my little glass of wine, and I just happened to do a little Cabernet, and then I'm going to move from there, because I'm a crazy man. I'm going to move from there right into some of this.
Now you're talking.
Something I found in the liquor store. It's a new whiskey for me, but an interesting Irish whiskey. So
you don't go wrong with Irish whiskey.
I do a lot. I drink a lot of Irish whiskey these days. You know the story. I've told you. I won't get into the details, but that's my thing these days. So, so you guys, I met you in 2018 at the IPCPCR in Vegas.
Yes, sir.
Launching this new brand, new to the United States. But what you explained to me is that it's not new to you. You guys actually were doing this in Eastern Europe for a while. Why don't you bring us back to how you all got together and how this thing called DAV started, and what does DAV stand for?
I'll let I'll get into what some of it, and he'll pick up wherever whatever I miss, rather. But just so people understand, Val and I go back, I'm going to say at least 36 years. He's Armenian, I'm Armenian. We met via the Armenian community. When we go so far back, he was actually, he knew my grandfather, rest his soul. He knew my father. And it wasn't just seeing each other within the community. There was a real closeness, a real bond, a real respect there. And you know, fast forward many, many, many years. He's been in the car industry. I've been in real estate, but you know, and any cigar smoker will say this: cigar brings people together of every race, gender, background. It doesn't recognize financial status or livelihood or anything like that. But we were actually together at a meeting, and he and I were both talking about cigars. He actually said, "You want to have a cigar?" And we did. And the conversation sort of unfolded about what it would be like to actually be in the industry. So he has the same kind of personality. It's like once something gets in your head, you kind of go full throttle with it. So that's what happened. You know, starting just very low scale, just kind of you know, independent, just private labels, really, just kind of getting a feel for it until we decided that it would be time to take it to the next level, which is our own brand. And we were able to partner. It was the perfect marriage with our factory in Santiago. And bless him, he's a third generation roller, and boy is he a master of his craft, Dylan. And then you can figure out the A and the V with Armen and Val. So, and it's been an adventure.
Dylan, Dylan is the D. That's your
factory. Dylan is the D.
There you go. And the factory.
What I missed, man, please fill in the blanks. I'm just kind of letting it all.
What factory are you using? So everybody knows.
Remember.
Go for it.
The factory's name is Remembranza. They've been in Villa Gonzales in Dominican Republic in Santiago. So I continue what Armen was saying. When we went to DR looking for a factory to see how we can make our cigars and everything in the beginning, so we went and met you guys, and we put some orders, and we did try to do some blends, but it was very hard. We didn't know who we were talking to. You couldn't trust anybody. So we spent a little bit time. Then the next trip we went and we met this gentleman in Remembranza factory. It's a very small factory. It was something that I was looking for, to find something like that I can handle it. So we sat down, we talked and everything. He's a homeboy, villager. Everybody knows I'm in a village. They respect them, third generation in a business. So I stayed a little bit longer. We went over things, and he started blending for us, and he's a master blender. They call him Tico in Dominican Republic, in that village. Everybody knows him by Tico. And we became like very close friends within a couple of weeks. I mean, we trust him with everything, and he was trusting us to use the factory any way we wanted it. So after, I would say 5-6 months, we did a contract, we closed the factory. And whatever is produced in that factory, we produce it. He's managing it. We're buying the tobacco and everything. We're fermentating it again if it's needed to be. We spend a lot of money to bring the factory up to date. Still needs improvements. And
so this is a three-way partnership between you.
Yes, it's a partnership that the manufacturing part of it, we partner together. And whatever comes out of the country, it doesn't have nothing to do with it. And we do private labeling also. So, and we do private labeling for in-house or in Dominican Republic that tourists they buy. We don't sell any DAV there at all. We do different blends under different brands, and we send it, or naked stick, we sell it there. So business, like anything else, first 2 years, it's you play with it. And like I remember you said it well, you know, in this business, you don't go in the business to be a millionaire.
No,
you spend $10, $1.
Isn't that the truth?
And
now, this was before you actually broke into the United States.
Yeah.
You connected with Dylan prior to that, and then you started to market your cigars in Eastern Europe. What are some of the countries that you were involved with?
We started in Ukraine, and it's every country has different laws. We had some friends that they could have helped us out to send the products, but then we saw that the problems start coming up when you want to do volume and everything. So then we turn around and we figure out we live in US. Why we're messing around to go to these small countries to do something. So we came back and we said, let's do it in the US. Let's do better blending and everything. Let's do something that US consumer is gonna like. And still it's a process like anything else. The ones that they're 30 years in the business, it's a process for them. The one that they started 5 years ago like us, it's a process for them.
Now, if you go to your website, it notes that it's New York, Washington, D.C., and Dominican. So now I know both of you are resident up in New York area.
Yes,
Where does the Washington, D.C. connection come in?
Well, the Washington, D.C., it's one of the state Washington that you can do tobacco business with no extra taxation. So there's, as you know, one is Florida, the other one is New Hampshire, Philadelphia, and Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. So D.C. was very close to us, and I go to D.C. at least once or twice a week. I got things to do there. So we figure out we started in the D.C. is better for us. It's a process. We're looking maybe to move to Florida or, but again, it needs a lot of work. We're thinking about it as we grow, the business grows. You have to sit back a little, take a breather to see the way that you want it. That's how it's growing, or just, I don't want it to get out of hand, neither Armen. So, and we had this FDA process that we were going through. So we were very cautious. We didn't want to produce too many cigars. So we were laying low to see where this FDA process is going.
How do you feel now?
Turned out everything to be good. So,
and of course, the other reason, in layman terms, tobacco laws and tobacco taxes in New York suck. So, that was a big consideration too. So that's the trifecta between New York, DC, and our factory in DR.
Now, with that said, that New York taxation is really sucky and all of that. If you look at your retail map on your site, I find it interesting. Okay, obviously New York, because you've got New York presence, you're New Yorkers, and that's just how things work, right? Because that's your hometown.
Yep.
You've got a decent footprint in California and Canada, which are two highly taxed areas when it comes to cigars. And I want to talk about Canada in a minute, but how did you get into these markets?
I'll say just one quick thing, and then definitely Val will have to take the rest of that. But again, this goes back to being Armenian, and if anybody knows the population in California, there is a big Armenian population. I mean, for instance, if you go to the city of Glendale, California, when you get to the city line, there's actually a sign that says Little Armenia. So that's one thing, and the community's very, very tight. And Val actually has a ton of family, and he actually lived in California for a while. So Val, there's your segue, my man. Take over.
Well, California was a natural coming for us that to launch in California because it's my home. So I used to live in California before I come to New York. And besides being a big Armenian community, it's one of the richest states. And I mean, if you're gonna miss California and don't target California as a businessman, then there's something wrong. And on the top of that, if you talk about Armenians, that in California, I would say probably 60% the male population in Armenians, they smoke cigars, and they're very picky. They know what they smoke. They know what they like. You know, they tell you exactly if they smoke, they don't like it, which I like. You know, that's what in the beginning, that's what you want to get, honesty from people. And we have a lot of friends that they're tobacconists. They have stores and everything. They've been there in the business for the last 25, 30 years, each one of them. So it was a natural thing for us to start in California.
Now you also have this footprint in Canada, and I know the rules in Canada have changed dramatically over the last few years. So talk a little bit about, what people don't understand necessarily in this country is how some of these different countries have different rules, and Canada has some rather repressive rules when it comes to marketing, packaging, things like that. So this cigar right here, does it look like this on a Canadian shelf? Now, explain what you have to do in Canada to sell.
Well, we started in Canada some 3 years ago, and we have a distributor, new distributor that they're fine and gentlemen. We ship them from DR straight. We don't bring it in the US. Anywhere overseas that we send, we don't bring the shipments to US. We just ship it to countries that we have to send it to. There is no need to bring it here, pay the tobacco tax, FDA tax, and everything, you know, and go through that hassle. So you just ship it from the factory. When we started, they were talking about covering the labels and everything on the cigars and all that. So we start shipping the products to the distributor, and they start doing very good until last year that they came out, they start being very strict. So whatever we had there, the shipments that we shipped, I would say three shipments we shipped from DR to them, and they're almost done. They want a new order, but they're waiting to see what they're gonna deal with the government. Are they something's gonna change or not? And it's frustrating for distributor, for manufacturer. You know, as people they send. We don't want to go off road. We want to be straight up. If it's something, it's within the boundaries of the law that we can work, we'll do it. Added that, we're not going to touch it.
Now, they've got the plain packaging now in Canada?
They have the
bands. What you got? What, olive colored bands?
Yeah, something like that.
It's like very plain. Everything looks the same.
Yeah, it just doesn't do justice. I mean,
it's good for blind tasting. You know, if they want to go and smoke the cigar and say, "Oh, okay, I know what cigar I'm smoking." That's, you know. But again, I think this is politics, and we're talking about politics in US, politics in Canada, but they're all connected when it comes to tobacco. And eventually, if we have all these organizations, if they click together and we work together throughout the world, and we should have a good influence on politicians. And that's how it works. I mean, lobbying in US, lobbying works, in Canada works, in Europe works. So this is a big industry. And to me, in the beginning, it was a shock. Why this industry is so divided and everything, they're not coming together. Why the big boys, they don't put something together? And they all know it. I mean, it's not like they don't know it. And I have to teach them something. But eventually, when they saw that the knife is getting to the bone, you know, everybody start getting together. But I think now that this FDA thing, judge stopped it, thank God, we should start pushing forward.
Oh yeah, I think we've done it now. You know, in hindsight of all the differences that I've heard, the different voices of who's doing, who's not, who's in, who's not, who's playing, who's not. In the end, all these lawsuits and everything that we've been doing, and all the paperwork and all the research and everything that we've been providing to the FDA through PCA, through the CRA, has definitely made a difference. These guys have worked tirelessly, whether people want to believe it or not, they work tirelessly to do this on our behalf. And kudos to them, and kudos to all the team of the PCA and the CRA to get this understood. And the fact that the FDA has now recognized, this is a business that is just too big as far as the quantity of SKUs to deal with, right? The number of different blends, Vitolas and all of that, all the paper, they don't have the manpower. And it's good that they've recognized that. It's also very positive that they said it was the lowest priority on their list. And I think that's what drove Judge Mehta to say, wait a second, you guys just, what are you doing? Okay, so go back and take a breather and let this industry do what they got to go do. They've given you all the information you need, and we'll come back and talk about it sometime in the future. And maybe you push it aside. Maybe they'll eventually just give us that exemption that we've.
Yeah, but you cannot wait and put it in a think about wishful thinking is not going to work. You have to be ready. This is a war, and when you go to war, you got to be ready for fight. You know, and now. We got lucky. Maybe the judge, he understood what we were saying. First, I want to say thank you to PCA and all the other organizations that they work hard. I want to thank Dr. Gabby Caffey from Boutique Cigar Association. He worked very hard.
Absolutely.
I want to
thank you.
Puente. I mean, Arturo, he was behind everything from beginning, and many others, if I forget their names to mention. And we cannot forget, we're in this all together. Doesn't matter, the smallest to the largest factory and businessman, we're all in it together. Because once they get something, these politicians, they're gonna come after you year and year after and everything, and until they take everything out of you. You know,
it's a never-ending process. Yeah. And I'm glad Val brought up Dr. Caffey as well, because you know that Carrie's watching, by the way. Kerr Viajante, my man, is watching. Both he and I, along with Dr. Gabby, have the podcast that airs Fridays, Protecting the Legacy. And and Val as well, we're all involved not only with PCA and CRA, but with the BCA, the Boutique Cigar Association, which Dr. Gabby Caffey had started. And it was just the privilege that we were talking about all the big guys, you know, Rocky Patel, Carlos Fuente, all these guys. And all of a sudden, the little boutiques and the BCA and Dr. Gabby Caffey were invited to have a seat at the table. And when they had that meeting with the guys at the FDA, the CTP, it was very, very impactful with the letters, with all the research. and all the support, all these guys that Val also mentioned. I mean, tremendous. And for all those reasons, it's for all those reasons that we were able to get this relief. So yeah, when that news broke, it was just, you know, I think the sky just finally opened up, and I know you get it too, brother. You really do.
So let's shift a little. So you guys have come out with some really interesting and fine blends over the last couple of years here in the States. You did a line extension this year. I'm smoking one of them. This is a Lancero.
Enjoy.
A little video here today, but this is the Lancero box. It comes 10 count, and there are 5 of each. Talk a little bit about this Lancero collection and how important this is to you. And oh, by the way, I really love the fact that when you ship your cigars, it comes with Boveda in it. It says so on the outside, because last week when we spoke to Skip Martin, there was an important fact made about how cigars smoke at different humidities. And you have a Boveda pack. I'm assuming that Boveda pack is for what you feel that cigar is going to smoke at best.
Yep.
I'll let Val have at it, because he really, hats off to him. He really, that was his baby. I know he wanted to put that together. So I'm just going to kind of sit back and have him kind of talk about the Lanceros.
Well, the Lanceros, I love, that's the best size that I think you can smoke a cigar and get everything out of the cigar. It's Lancero. But everybody's different, you know. That's me. So we made the Lanceros in those 2 blends year and a half ago, 2 years ago almost. And they were sitting in aging room. So in the beginning, we were thinking just coming up with a Mestizo Lancero and Aristocrat Lancero. And that's why we just kept it in the aging room. We couldn't decide what we want to do with them. And finally, we came out to the conclusion that let's do collection edition. Let's mix it, 5 of each in a box, change the box. I hope they're going to like the packaging that we did with that Lancero limited edition. And the cigars, they're really aged cigars. Like the cigars, they're rolled over year and a half.
It's smoked. It has been smoked. This is like the third. You saw the empty slots. So I've been smoking these a little bit. I always, when if I get a box of cigars, I will always take one fresh off the truck just for the fun of it. All right, just to see how it handled the shipping and all of that. I'm always curious. It's the geek in me. But I'm sitting down on my humidor now for a few weeks, and this is burning so beautifully. The aroma that's coming off of this, I'm just getting this. I'm smelling it from here. It's just this cocoa aroma I'm picking up. It's just absolutely enticing. Me just want to chew this thing.
There's a lot coming from you.
Seriously, this is like, wow.
No. I mean, this is really, I'm really enjoying this. Now, I've enjoyed these blends in the larger ones, but this, you know, I'm a Lancero geek, so I view Lanceros are the best of the best when it comes to flavor. You're going to get a lot more flavor.
I agree with you on that.
Highlights this.
Thank you, man.
And the packaging, what I really liked about the packaging is that you didn't just put, you went in there and you put a nice cedar inside, separate slots for everything. You spent time and thought about how to properly present it. That nice piece of paper on the front with the DAV logo on it. It's just a beautiful presentation. It's a beautiful box. And when you're done with them, even if you didn't reorder them, you have Lanceros, you have a box to store your Lanceros in.
100%. You know, of all our blends, it's definitely the most, has the most complex profile. As you said, It really changes as you smoke it, the cocoa and all that. And it's funny, I know Kerry's watching it, and he really enjoyed the mestizo. And he was thinking, he said, I swear I was thinking, imagine if these guys came out with a Lancero. So there you have it.
Now, you came out with a couple other things too this year. These are always fun. So I only opened up one of the boxes. But you came out with what's called the Palmeritos.
Yes, Palmeritos.
And these, for everybody to see, nice top box. These are little tiny cigars. Oh, by the way, comes with that. I mean, that's just an extra added bonus, right? But there you go. I smoked one of these the other day. It's a nice, simple smoke. If you're sitting out there, especially in the Northeast when it gets cold,
Yeah.
right? And you need a quick smoke. You just want to get a fix. You just want
You nailed it.
premium blend. So what are tell me what these blends are, these two.
Well, the one that you had, it's a Connecticut, Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper with Dominican fillers.
That's the Oro.
That's the Oro, yes. And the maroon, it's a Cameroon wrapper. It's the first time that we start using the Cameroon wrapper, and with the Dominican fillers.
I need to open this up.
Yeah, you do.
That has a
cigarillos, they really pack a punch. They really pack.
So that's the first time you've used Cameroon. So are you looking now to move this into a larger Vitola?
Not that, but we have new blends that they're coming out. Maybe I don't want to go ahead and talk about it. I promise you, I'm going to send you the blends. We sent it to Dr. Gabby Caffey to try it, and he was blown away with it. And so we start using Cameroon wrappers because I like the Cameroon wrappers. You know, with a special blend that you do, it comes out beautifully. So this new blends that they're gonna come out, they're gonna have 8 different tobaccos in it, and it's something amazing. I mean, for next week, I'm gonna send you some samples, but please, that's only for you. Don't do anything. Don't show to anybody.
I'll just give you my view on it.
Yeah,
That's fine. That works.
Fair enough.
fine. If you just give it to me, it's all right. You know, that's only for you. But they're gonna come out. I would say hopefully before New Year.
So maybe 2020 release.
Yeah.
Hey,
If
fair.
you can go well with this Corona, you never know. You know.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you having any problem coming out of the Dominican with cigars?
We're not having problem coming out. Actually, we have a shipment that is gonna come get here by Wednesday. But the way that all the employees, they cannot come to the factory, and you have to be watchful. You have to be careful, you know. And you're working in third world country, so you have to understand their mentality and everything, how to work with it. Especially with this, I cannot fly and go there every 2 months. I was staying there for 2 weeks. Now I miss my home is there, my hermanos, and it's like I lost something. Every day I'm looking for something, you know. But if you're not there, things can go wrong, you know. So therefore, hopefully within a month and a half, if country opens up to fly, I'm gonna be on the first plane to go because I have to.
There you go.
But you know, Jimmy, it's more than that because it's not an employer-employee relationship at all. It's family,
Yeah.
and we've always had that mindset, Val and I. And that's one of the things because we think alike, and you know, if one person in the factory is not happy, we're not happy. And you know, their health, and this is their livelihood. And we know the conditions are very tough. So a couple of months ago when COVID really hit, we sat down and we spoke, and we made the conscious decision that we really have to, you know, before thinking of profits or anything of that nature, we want to make sure everybody's okay. So we made the executive decision to shut down the factory for 2 months, and we made sure that the employees also received their wages.
Very
In the
nice.
interim, regardless of what it meant. If we're going to take a hit, we're going to take a hit, because it's in the end, again, it's reciprocal. Your family, and when you consider them family, that's what you do. So, you know, they were very appreciative of that, and you know, they show their loyalty every day. So you have to do the same. So. Things have improved. I know it's pretty tough right now in Nicaragua and in Honduras, but luckily things have improved. In the Dominican, still very cautious. You know, we're still very limited, but let's say slowly we're getting through it all.
They still have Coca-Cola signs to stop signs.
Yeah, for sure, man.
We'll just leave that. For those that know. Those that don't, you got to go understand that concept. All right. Speaking of Leaf and new Leaf, so you got this Cameroon that you're working with, and you're toying around with it. Val, you and I came up to New York a year and a half ago, whatever. I don't know. It's been a while. And you and I went out. We had a good time. We had a nice conversation. And one of the things you talked to me about was this concept.
Was I?
No,
they're both quiet.
This might have been when we went to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll address this when we're off the air. No problem.
I think it was just like this thing. He picked me up from the airport. There was a thing with my family, and
it's all good, my man.
Drove over to Brooklyn. Anyway, you were bringing up this discussion about you're thinking about the possibility of cultivating tobacco in Armenia. And I'm sure, Armen, you're part of this too. So,
thanks, man.
You're entitled to comment. But you had this thought about doing cultivating tobacco in Armenia. Have you moved on that? Have you done anything? You still thinking about it?
No, actually, we haven't done anything, but we're very seriously thinking about it. If we find it that it's doable to do it there, climate and everything, we're gonna start doing something. I mean, at least we will try to see what we can do. It's lengthy process. It's not an easy thing that you say, okay, you find it, the weather is good, everything, climate is good, and you're gonna go and you're gonna do it. The ones that even they're doing it in DR or Ecuador, they've been doing it for centuries and still having problems some years that the weather is not good and everything, and the crop is not coming out good. But Armenia is something new, nobody done it. They do it for cigarette. But right now, this COVID messed up everything, all the plans and everything. I mean, imagine from February, end of January on, everything is shut, and you cannot even think straight to do what to do, So our worry was only DR and the factory, the small factory that we have, and to just maintain everything. But that project's still in my head. I'm kind of a person that once the project goes in my head, I have to try it to see if it's working or not. The Armenia project is not anything for money. It's not something to make profit out of it. It's something that we can give it to farmers, something different to grow. And if in that country is going to have some future, you know, to do. Or if we can grow it, it'll be great. If not, then the next step is that to start rolling cigars in Armenia. But
So-
that in my lifetime, I'm going to do that.
So do you have a particular seed in mind that you think would work there?
I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
All the secrets I'm making with you.
Because I could say when you
It's-
say about, it's an experiment and trying to understand what might work. Because if you take somebody like Jeff from Corona Cigars, right?
Yeah.
When they did this Florida sun grown, I mean, he'll tell you when they first planted that first crop wasn't all that great. Okay.
Right.
The cigars that came out of that crop weren't all that great. But over the last 3-4 years, he described to me what he called natural GMO. All right, the seed might have come from Nicaragua, and that's Nicaraguan seed might have originally came from Cuba, right? When they planted it in Florida, it didn't acclimate immediately, but crop after crop, the seed that you produce from the plant becomes acclimated to the climate and the environment. I mean, tobacco is an incredibly hardy plant.
Yes.
It really is. It can grow in a lot of interesting places. I have friends of mine that just grow them for ornamental plants in Ohio in front of their houses. They don't even cultivate it. They just grow it for the flower. Right?
I wish I had that.
It's just it's a really hardy plant, and it'll eventually acclimate. And now the question is, do you get a leaf that actually is flavorful? And then of course it goes to the curing and everything that goes along with that, the fermentation, how you process it. But yeah, I'm looking forward, and I'll be following you on this over the years and see where things go. Maybe I'll take a trip to Armenia and we'll go look at your
Anytime. You have the two best guides you could ever ask for. I promise.
So speaking of Armenia, and both of you guys being Armenia, I don't want to get overly political, but I do know, like about a month ago, I guess it was in July, I was going through the Facebook feed and I saw you, Val, on the streets of New York, and there was this big protest going on, and I wasn't sure what was happening because it was live, and you were kind of filling me in on it. So what's happening in Armenia? What's in the world right now? What's going on with Armenia?
Well, Armenia, it's a small country surrounded by few unfriendly neighbors. Armenia is the first country that Armenians, they became Christian. They accepted Christianity in 301. And unfortunately, since then, we've been attacked with different Muslim countries, from Mongols, from Iranians, from all over. So we survived. I mean, Armenians, we're mountainous people, and we take any challenges. And if we put something in our head to do, we'll do it. That's our nature. Actually, the nature taught us how to defend ourselves for centuries. So going fast forward, in 1992, there was after Russia's revolution and everything, Gorbachev, the perestroika, all that, part of the Armenia that he calls Artsakh, Stalin gave it to, he divided from Armenia, he cut it from Armenia and gave it to Azerbaijan. And that was part of Armenia for centuries. And since then, Azerbaijan they start dividing the villages, the roads. So Armenian villagers, they cannot hang out together. So between each village, there was a Azerbaijani village. So they were giving them hard time. So it was Soviet Union time. So they were all brothers, sort of, they're calling it. So in 92, when perestroika happened in Artsakh, that mountainous region, that over 90% there are Armenians living there. The Armenians say if the law allows for independence and raise our voice, and so we want our independence, let's vote. We want democracy. So Azerbaijani government didn't like it. Back then, Russia was backing them up. So Armenia was a new country cut off from Soviet Union. And the war broke out. And it was a war for 4 years. Armenians, at the end, we won. And we took the enclave and we created a government. We have a parliament in that small enclave. And people, they just live like anywhere else, much better than anywhere else. It's throughout plain democracy. President walk through, there's no bodyguards or anything. Members of parliament, they walk around. Population is around close to 250,000 people. And it's beautiful scenery, beautiful part of the country. And a month ago, well, in between all these years, Azerbaijanis, they tried to attack, and always, they got their answers. So Azerbaijanis, they're claiming that this is their land because Stalin gave it to them. It's a gift from Stalin, from Father Russia. So it's ours. You cannot take this gift back. But they don't understand that if it's a land for centuries, these people, they've been living there, and you guys, you haven't been there at all centuries ago. Still they're living on their land. How is it going to be yours? If some politician or some country came and cut it and said, oh, temporarily is yours, but they don't understand it. So a month ago, they tried to attack to Armenia, and not tried, they attacked. Literally, they attacked. And that was the first time that they did. And they got the answer from Armenia side, not the Artsakh side, because Artsakh has his own army. And the response that they got, it was devastating. They weren't expecting it. And they got shocked. Like, what the heck happened to us? Like, it's like a big giant guy, he goes in front of a midget, and all of a sudden he beat the shit out of him, and he gets up and says, how the heck this little kid, he beat the
David
shit
and Goliath.
The population didn't like it. Population started in Azerbaijan. They start, going in the streets and protesting and saying that the government is not good. Well, the government is a corrupt government. And he's sitting there, he's following his father's footsteps. It's a dictatorship. It's a family business for them. They're milking the country's oil. The country has a lot of oil. And that's how big superpowers, they're supporting Azerbaijan because of their oil. That's about it. Once the oil is done, they don't have nothing else.
And that's coming up very soon.
Yeah. So the protest that we did, it was in front. We weren't protesting. Azerbaijanis, they were protesting in front of Armenian mission in New York. So we were scared that they're gonna just attack, probably break the door and everything, walk in, because we saw that in New York, everything was a mess. All over, we saw that it was a mess, and NYPD wasn't helping. So we figured out we just go there very quietly and just stay there. Don't respond to anything to them. Don't give them any reason to do anything. And just make them understand that we're here to support our country. That's what we did. And what we figured out, it was correct. For first, I would say 10 minutes, there was no NYPD, and it was shocking. If we weren't there, they could have attacked, that we see.
But in the end, and I watched a good part of your live video. I mean, I was working, but I had it on my other screen, and it was rather peaceful. All things considered in the country today, that was, both sides, they had they were shouting back and forth, doing what they're going to do, but it was rather peaceful. There wasn't violence, there wasn't riots.
We didn't say nothing. If we were going to shout and start saying things, it was going to be ugly.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We didn't want that to happen. We didn't want to have anything to be ugly. We just want them to do their whatever legally they could do, which they did, which we don't have a problem with it. We do the same thing. We go in front of Turkish embassy or Azerbaijan embassy, and we do our protest. That's anybody's right to do protest, in this country, and you get on with it. But these countries, they're backed up with big oil giant companies, big corporations, and they're getting away with murder, and
to the point where I can add that whereas our motto is always to do things very peacefully, as we did and as we continue to do, but there have been many skirmishes, there have been many incidents, not only throughout the U.S., but globally in countries in Europe where this incident has riled up the Azerbaijani community, and they're just attacking randomly women, older men, what's the word? Desecrating statues and schools and things like that. And, we still continue the way we always have, and that's.
Well, it's a good.
As a DAV, we don't get involved in politics as a corporation, and this is individually me and Armen. We have things to do in the community that we're involved for years as an Armenian. Thank you. But we don't. I don't like to talk too much about politics on these kind of platforms that much. We have a lot of good friends that they're from the other side of the country that they understand they did wrong. It's not that everybody's the same way. It's the government that you're dealing with, and it's the governments that they're feeding their people the wrong story. And unfortunately, like anytime I talk about our business, I said the best consumer that you can have is the educated one.
Right. Yeah, an educated citizen, people that understand stuff, it's the best thing.
The best citizen you can have is the educated one. Right now, today, it's election year, and we're going in November. I don't want to go there.
Don't.
Please. You see what's happening, they're hijacking this. And we're going
we'll wait till November 5th because it's going to take a couple of days after. We'll wait to the end of this election cycle, and it'll be what it'll be. America will continue to progress. It'll do its thing, and transition of power will be peaceful, and that's my view, and that's how I see things.
But Jimmie, let me segue this into something else. It's really not political. Val and I are always, and it's non-Armenian, of course, we're always at the forefront of worthy causes, whether it be Cigars for Warriors or even local charities, whether it's for NYPD, FDNY, or we're always up for a good cause. And I'm sure everybody's aware of what happened in Lebanon recently with the explosion. And that's a country that never seems to catch a break anyway. All the turmoil that they've endured. And this explosion in the capital, Beirut, really devastated the country. It was last Friday, and I was with Val just discussing everyday business, and he had the idea that any cigar that we sell within the month of August, it doesn't matter if it's an individual watching the podcast or somebody orders online, or whether you're a retailer, whether you're a distributor, we don't care. We decided that in the month of August, any cigar sales that we have, we will donate the profits from those sales to the Lebanon cause. So anybody out there listening, please, again, our profits are going to go to the people of Lebanon who desperately need it.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. So we're coming up on the hour. We got about 6 minutes left. This is the point in the show where I take a quick move to what's new in Stogie Press for the week. So we're just going to open that up for a second here. So we did a few cigar reviews this week. I'll just roll the clock back here. So we continued with our series of Blackbird Cigars. Blackbird Cigars is a company that hit the market last year, pretty heavy. Had a lot of blends they came out with. I had a whole sampler pack I've been going through for the last year. We finally got around to reviewing the what they call the Crow, and they're all Robusto, so I reviewed the Crow. We gave that one a 92. This cigar actually it's a beautiful San Andreas cigar. And nice thing about this, I mean, they got beautiful packaging, and this cigar is a nice closed foot. The ash was spectacular, a little bit of an off burn cone there, but not much, a little bit of wave on the burn. Other than that, the flavors were just spectacular. I had no problem with this. This is definitely one of these box buy cigars. If you're in the market for a really fine San Andreas, that's one of the ones that we just recently looked at. The second one we looked at was the Trafficante. So Trafficante is a very small boutique cigar company. These were part of a I'm part of a club where we move a box around and people put cigars in and take cigars out of it, and they keep remailing them. So there were a couple of Trafficantes in there. I haven't had one of these. So this was the Trafficante El Chapo. The El Chapo, nice thing about what's interesting about Trafficante is they, a lot of their cigars are not banded. They have this little tag that they hang on it with the brand mark. So that's interesting. This is a very fine cigar. Beautiful ash on it. Fell in nice sized chunks. Gave this one a 91. For those that don't know about Trafficante, Trafficante is a company that was founded by ex drug enforcement agents. And what's real interesting, if you actually did the translation of Trafficante, it means drug dealer. So just, I just thought that was an interesting thing about the company. So that's fun. And then yesterday I put out, now this cigar surprised me. Okay, really surprised me. This is the Henry Clay Warhawk Rebellious. Now, Henry Clay cigars have been around for a while. Actually, Henry Clay is one of the oldest Cuban brands ever on the market, named after the famous Henry Clay politician and statesman. I remember years ago in the 1990s, I smoked a Henry Clay, and I swore I'd never smoke another Henry Clay again. I mean, it was just like I couldn't get through half of it. I didn't like the flavor. I mean, it just put me off. Well, this particular one, and I haven't had the regular Warhawk yet, so I can't comment on that. But the Rebellious is the collaboration with AJ Fernandez. So what do you get with AJ Fernandez? You get a fine cigar, right? And this is a limited edition, only 1,200 boxes. I give a nice little history of the Henry Clay cigar brand. This is actually an advertisement of their original Henry Clays coming out of Havana, Cuba. They were owned by Julian Alvarez. Anyway, so we went through this. This cigar here just had a beautiful burn. Nice, simple ash cone. The flavors on this were just right spot on with me. Well transitioned. It lasted a good hour and 40 minutes. A nice medium plus in strength cigar. The only thing I really deducted on this is kind of had a flat burn cone. I mean, that's just my rating scale. And definitely this is like a box buy because it's not. It's right in the wheelhouse of the price mark of cigars today. It's about $9.60 a cigar. This is coming out of Altadis, so it's a big box cigar. but really, really fine cigar. If you could find them, I definitely say pick some up and check it out. The other part of Stogie Press, we had some news that came out. So the news over the last week, Protocol Cigars came out now with their second cigar on what's called the Lawman series. This is the this one here is paying tribute to Elliot Ness. Okay, so this is the Elliot Ness cigar. This is being made with Eric Espinoza as usual. They come in two different blends. They have a Habano and a broadleaf. So very nice packaging. So these should be hitting the market this coming month or so. You should start seeing these showing up in stores. The other news was Moya Ruiz. So Moya Ruiz, most of you know Moya Ruiz. They have this really interesting branding. They come out with these really fascinating concepts like the Chinese finger trap and stuff like that. They've actually kind of returned to their roots, but they did a few things. They've redesigned their brand mark. So this is the new Moya Ruiz logo. I like this logo. It's very modern now. I think it's a pleasant logo to look at. And what they did is they came out with their original La Jugada, but they put it in a box press Vitola. So this is their first one coming out now. It's a 6x52 box press Toro. What they also did is they're continuing to work with Eric on these, and they're also coming out with a Chinese finger trap 2, which is going to be a limited edition, which is sold exclusively through a cigar shop in Bath, Pennsylvania. So very interesting news. I haven't seen much out of Moya Ruiz in a while, and I'm really happy to see them back in the market. And with, like you said earlier, with all this FDA stuff, this is hopefully we'll see more small brands coming back with things. And then lastly, the cigar news that I put out today. For those that don't know, I've been one of my sponsors is Frontline Cigars. They're based out of Chicagoland. They're a small online shop, and what we did, we decided to offer a Stogie Press sampler pack. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't have a large inventory, so we went through what his inventory was and what I had in reviews. And what we did is we chose cigars that were rated like a 91 or above. So the first 5-pack sampler includes a Aroma Craft and Temperance, a Hiram and Solomon Traveling Man, a Oliva Series 3 Master Blends, a Rockefeller, Dominican Blue, and Frontline has their own called Blue Line. And we put those in that sampler pack. I don't get anything out of this. I'm just helping out a sponsor here with what they're doing. These are $47.95. And if you want to know more about each of these cigars, these are the reviews that we did on these cigars right in here. So that's the news and reviews on Stogie Press for the week. I know Val had to get back to family. Armen?
I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay on as long as you want, my man.
So that's basically the show. Anything we do after this, we just have fun with. But I really appreciate you and Val taking the time on a Saturday night to join Taking It to the Nub.
Anytime, brother.
Anything after this is going to be probably cut out of the YouTube. Now next week we have plans Oscar Valadares.
Nice.
And the week after, we will have Ricky Rodriguez from CAO Cigars, and we'll be rolling Bones.
Nice.
Because that's their new cigar. CAO has a new cigar out called Bones. And we'll be talking about the Bones, smoking Bones. And maybe I could figure out a way to do an online, an online dominoes tournament with Ricky for 10 minutes.
Are you an old school rock and roll fan by any chance, Jimmie?
I am an old school rock and roll fan. As a matter of fact, funny you should say that. And
I'm going somewhere with it too. I wonder if we're thinking the same thing.
we didn't practice this, guys.
No.
But today I was just in this weird mood, and I'm a very frustrated bass guitarist, right?
Are we going towards Geddy Lee in this?
No, I just kind of like, I get in this mood of just trying to mess around and play.
Absolutely.
But I'm always trying to find new instructional videos, and they always evolve. They've evolved over the last years of me playing, and I still can't play better than Smoking the Water, but that's besides the point. But I found these videos where there was a video that popped up on doing the immigration song by Led Zeppelin.
Wow, Led Zeppelin, yeah.
Right? And then a few other Led Zeppelin songs. And these guys, there's a whole bunch of people who do these instructional bass videos, and they have the music in the background, the sound.
Yeah.
They've got the bass tuned up, mixed in a little louder so you can hear it. And watch the guy doing the fingering, and as he's doing the fingering, you've got the tab running across the bottom of the screen, so you could start to like, oh, that's what that little thing was that I can't figure out. So I'm about ready to pick up my bass guitar tomorrow for the first time in 6 months and just like play around with some Led Zeppelin. But
do it. Well, as soon as you said the cigar name is Bones, and when you have them on, it just literally popped in my head as one of the great Rush tunes, and it's called Roll the Bones.
Roll the Bones.
So you could play that, and since you are a bassist, I highly recommend Geddy's. If you've heard of it, he came out with a book, a coffee table book called Big Beautiful Book of Bass. It is unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. It's incredible.
I've heard about that. I probably need to ask somebody in my family to give me that for Christmas just to have it.
You want it. You trust me, you want it.
Just to understand a little more about it, because Geddy,
history, he gets into the history. He talks with all the great bassists, and he has so many incredible photos because he went nuts with his collection. I forgot what it was, but I think it's upwards of 300 basses that he's collected.
I heard that on satellite radio they were doing a episode.
Yes.
And he's auctioning some of them off for a good cause.
Yes, he is. So those two things, I wanted to make sure I squeezed that in. But I did want to say thanks, because you've always been a big supporter, and we love you for it. And it's always a blast being on the show too, man. So anytime.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate you guys coming on. I really, truly appreciate your sponsorship.
Always.
It keeps me, when I'm sitting around at, for 4 hours a night writing articles and doing stuff. My wife's in the other room with the dog, and I'm like out here from 7 to 11, and I'm out here from 6 to 6 working my regular job. I barely, and sometimes I feel guilty, but at the same time I'm doing.
But it's your love, it's your passion, and you're devoted to it. And
I love doing this. I love
it.
The educating. I love learning. Like I said last week, if you didn't get a chance to watch the Skip Martin interview that we did last week in Romacraft, let me tell you what, that interview, Skip Martin is just a wealth of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
We got into just general things about cigars.
Yeah.
And going through my reviews, and I brought up one of the comments in my reviews, a flavor,
mm-hmm.
whatever, and he says, the reason for that off burn, and he would explain what was going on. He explained how and this is the one thing that I'm going to take to the bank with me, because I'm really going to start. If I smoke a cigar and it doesn't burn right, and I use this thing called the humidimeter. So if you haven't, the humidimeter, you got to check one of these little devices out. They're like $30. You just stab the foot, and it gives you a reading, a moisture of content converted to basic relative humidity, so you can understand it, right?
I love it.
And you know, it matches my humidor, right? So I stab it, it's like 67. I'm good, I'm 67. So everything's good. But he told me, he goes, not all cigars smoke good at 67. Maybe they smoke better at 72, or maybe they smoke better at 62, all right? And you might want to try like taking a cigar that's not burning right at 67 and dry box it for a day or two and bring it down to 62 and then try it again. You may not get the same array of flavors. The flavors may diminish a little, but the burn will be better, right? So I'm taking them up on this. I'm going to do some experiments, and I'm going to start talking about this in some of my reviews and say, hey, I smoked this cigar. Here's what happened at this humidity factor. I dry box it, and if it's true, I'm going to say, look, this cigar is best smoked at this humidity level versus that one. And I think consumers would need to know that.
I'd love to hear more about how you enjoy using the apparatus and how it works for you.
Absolutely.
I'm very curious.
Well, you should get one and play with it, because being a cigar guy, you know, one of the things we did with that device, when I got it, I was doing all kinds of experiments. And what's really interesting is you take a cigar, it's 67%.
Yeah.
You light that cigar, you smoke this cigar, you get it to burn for about an inch. And then it's got two little prongs on it. You stab the side of the barrel. Now, you wouldn't do this normally on a cigar because you're going to get airflow problems.
Yeah.
It's an experiment that was interesting. You stab it about a half an inch above the burn line. You know what the humidity factor is at that level, the moisture content? It's like 80%. It's like 80, 85, because the heat activates molecules.
Exactly.
And the moisture just starts building in the cigar. So that's why you want the cigars to be a little less, because it's going to do that anyway. And that was an interesting experiment.
Very nice, my man.
So,
yes, we are.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
A pleasure.
Much appreciated, brother.
Thank you.